It's already moved. It's in through my lymph nodes. Minimally, there's an 18-month prognosis to live.
What happens next astounds even the most seasoned of physicians. On this week's show,
I said, happy birthday to me, happy birthday to me. You now have breast cancer and you can't have a baby. And that's exactly what I sang.
Karen Butterton's cancer approach.
Take real-life topics, add the unexpected with plenty of inspiration. The result is something entertaining and insightful.
We want to tell the story in a way that nobody else can tell it. You know, I'm the funny girl. I'm gonna make you laugh.
Sometimes crazy, always candid and unrehearsed. You talk, we listen, about topics that matter and things that make you laugh. You know them, but not like this. You're watching The Spiel with Angie and Julie.
You know, we are extremely blessed. The Spiel is in South Florida, and we have met up with a dear lady, Karen Butterton. Karen, welcome. First of all, we've been following you and what you've gone through, and we're at a point now that we have to share your story, and that's what we're doing here today. Thank you so much.
Thank
for
you.
allowing
I'm excited
us
to be here.
this. I guess let's go back to the beginning when we realized that we had a road ahead of us now.
Back in 2002, I was 45 years old. In fact, it was my birthday. And the week before that, I found a little tiny little bump, like the size of a pinhead, on my breast. Now, I'd had a mammogram probably about 3 weeks earlier. Nothing showed. But this little tiny bump. And I called the insurance company and I said, I found a little lump on my breast. We just had your mammogram results. Nothing showed. I know, but I know from my own self-test that there's something here. So they finally agreed to let me go for an ultrasound. At that point, they did a biopsy. It was on my 45th birthday. I was on the 285 connector in Atlanta, and I got a call saying, Karen, I need you to come in right away. I said, really? Yes. Came in. At that point, she says, you have invasive stage 1 breast cancer. I said, oh, okay. And she said, here's what we need to do. At that point, I can never forget that day because I had a second phone call. And it was from my OB-GYN, who had done a lot of tests to find out why we couldn't have a baby. She said, well, we found out the answers. Come to my office. I said, no, doctor, give it to me on the phone. I'm too busy. I just had some news that I was just given about having breast cancer. She goes, well, you can't have children. So here I am driving home on my 45th birthday. It was Halloween. I said, happy birthday to me. Happy birthday to me. You now have breast cancer and you can't have a baby. And that's exactly what I sang.
Were tears streaming?
They were just streaming down my face. I said, how do I tell my husband? Because we were going to go through fertility and everything else. And now she says I have estrogen positive breast cancer. So I went home and told my husband, and I'll never forget what he said. For better, for worse, for richer, for poor, in sickness and health, till death us do part. And we got on our hands and knees, and we just cried out to God, help us get through this. He was with me every step of the way. We got through the cancer. I finished all of the therapies. I had a lumpectomy and radiation treatment. And then I was given a clean bill of health. And
that period was how long?
That period was 8 months.
Okay.
It was 8 months. And then from that point, recognizing, let's say, for example, we couldn't have children, we wanted a child so bad. So in the period between what I'm speaking to you about now, we were able to adopt a beautiful little boy. And we had him at 13 months. So he's our pride and joy. So now I've been living my life, very involved in the corporate medical field, and it is Christmas of last year. And I noticed a tiny little sore that had opened up on my right breast. And it was right where the incision was of the original surgery. So I thought maybe the actual incision had just opened up.
Sure.
So I immediately went to the physician the day after Christmas. And she said, you know what, because of your history, I think it's important that we go out and at this juncture, we quickly go in and we get a mammogram. She pushed me through to get a mammogram. And when she did the mammogram, it came back negative. No issue, no problems. But the sore would not heal. She gave me some more different medication. After a month, the sore continued not to heal. She said, I'm going to send you to a surgeon who's also a wound specialist. So I went to the surgeon. The minute he looked at that sore, I knew. The way he looked at me.
His face?
His face. He took a punch and he said, I'm going to send it to a pathologist and I'll get back with you in a couple days. I was just driving from my corporate office home en route and I had a phone call. And he said, Karen, I need you to come to my office as soon as possible. And I said, Doctor, I'm busy. I have too much on my plate. Just give it to me over the phone. He says, I don't want to talk to you about this over the phone. It's okay, doctor. I have cancer. It's come back, hasn't it? He said, yes, it has. He says, but I need you to come into my office because we have some tests we have to run. So that Monday I went into the office. And you know, it's very rare that you ever find such an exceptional doctor that has such care and compassion.
Yes.
This doctor pushed me through within 1 day to get a PET-C scan and then hounded them for 2 days until he had the interpretation. Normally it takes a week, week and a half. He wanted that interpretation ASAP. And he ordered it for me. He had the PET scan and he said, I have to send you to an oncologist. I said, okay. He said, she's going to go through the PET scan with you. So I made my appointment with the oncologist and she looked at the PET scan. And she said, your cancer has come back and you just do not have just a local reoccurrence in your right breast. It also has moved to your lungs, which means lungs, which means it has metastasized. It's already moved. It's in through my lymph nodes. And she said, it's important that we immediately start treatment. I said, well, wait a minute. I said, before we start treatment, I will always get a second opinion. And this is something every person needs to do.
Very good advice.
They must have a second opinion. And they came out with the same conclusion and the same course of therapy. So when I had the same doctors come up with the same conclusion, I knew that would be the right course of treatment for me. The second thing that was really important that I learned is that I wanted to know the stage and the grade of cancer. Because as far as I'm concerned, no human being should ever go forward with any treatment till they know the stage of their cancer and the grade of their cancer. The stage is how severe is it, and the grade is how fast does it move. When you as a person know those questions and if they're answered, then it'll help you make an informed decision. You have to be your own advocate. And for example, you're the conductor and your oncologist and your surgeon and your radiologist, all of those are part of the orchestra.
But how many people like myself would be, okay, where do I go? What do I do? I mean, to take that initiative to, where do you get that strength or that know-how?
Since I was a child, my mother said I knew what I was going to be at the age of 4. I was a leader when I was 4 years old. But the difference is I was always a truth seeker, and I wanted to know why and how to proceed. I'm a person that probes, so I'm always looking to see the hows and whys. So my doctor, when we talked about it, I said, Doctor, I know you want me to get into treatment as soon as possible, and I've received my second opinion, and I'm going to move forward with it, but I'm going to step back for a month because based upon what you just told me and that it is moved, that means I'm not your typical breast cancer patient. And she said, no, you're not, Karen. Minimally, there's an 18-month prognosis to live. But with therapy and treatment, we can give you more time. That was her answer.
You're watching The Spiel with Angie and Julie.
That's what's been fascinating about your story, is that no matter how many times you've been hit, you know, from out in left field, you took control and you knew there were certain things that you had to do, and your findings, even down to nutrition, need
Very
to be
much
shared.
so. Well, what happened is that I decided to take a month to prepare myself physically, spiritually, and emotionally. And every cancer patient needs to do that. But I also made the decision that I was going to research and find out what did I need to do to be a part of my treatment to get the potential best outcomes that a human being can get. And I began to research, and I began to find out that 1/3 of all cancer patients, they die of malnourishment. 1/3 according to the National Cancer Institute. I also began to recognize, and my husband says, we have got to keep your energy up, Karen.
Yes.
You're getting adriamycin, Cytoxin, and Abraxane. And
being slammed with
adriamycin is
poison.
considered
Yeah.
the red devil, the red
Wow.
poison. And I said, I understand that. And I said, so what I have to do is find out what I need to do to keep myself at optimum level. And cancer patients don't realize this, but fuel, fortifying their body, is the most important aspect of the cancer treatment, because you've got to stay on the regimen and the dose. You've got to get it every 2 or 3 weeks, because that's going to make you a successful cancer, outcome patient. But if you find yourself not eating, if you find yourself impacted by not filling your body with the proteins and the nutrients you need, what's going to happen is that you're going to find that you're going to get infections, your immune system's going to be down, your body's going to take and pull from what leftover proteins that are in there, and you're going to find yourself unable to continue the course of therapy, because before you're administered chemotherapy, they do blood work. Why? To make sure your body can withstand the treatment. And I can't tell you how many patients I have met whose therapy has been interrupted because of what's happening with their body. My husband had me take special items. And I decided that when I found out that within 1 week my hair would be gone,
Really?
I decided to shave it myself, to get a shave, to have my
Staying on top of it.
Staying on top of it. Why? Because I didn't want my little 5-year-old to see his mommy's hair fall out.
That's right.
And I can't forget that I was sharing my story with someone, and it was a policeman that was in the audience, and he was weeping during me talking about my story. And he came up afterwards, and I said, "Why were you weeping?" He said, "Because all I can remember about my mother, and she's dead now, she died of cancer, was watching her hair fall out." I can't tell you how that impacted me, and the fact that you made the decision to have your hair shaved. Plus, I had my son go with me and said, "Let's go find a wig." And so my son helped me figure out the wig.
Back to nutrition. You took the initiative to go search the best nutrition for you. Say someone who doesn't do that, does those doctors tell you what you should be eating and not eating? Do they help you along?
What happens is the doctors are busy. They're very busy meeting with the cancer patients and going over where they're at in their state right now, how they're doing in their course of treatment. A lot of times it's your nurses that are inside the infusion center that give you a lot of the helpful tips. Many cases, some oncology practices have registered dietitians on staff. But here's the issue. A lot of patients aren't necessarily encouraged about how important, or even educated how important nutrition is to their outcomes and their success of therapy. So I'm the one that did the study, and I started taking a product that had 110 micronutrients, and because I couldn't keep things down,
Right.
because it's a part of the cancer treatment, the chemotherapy, that he was giving me these protein shakes and these micronutrient shakes, and I never saw a significant reduction in my weight. I worked every day, never missed one day of work. I never had to go into the emergency room except once, and that's because I had to get on a plane and tell my parents what was going on, and you're not supposed to go on a plane.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, you're not supposed to go on a plane.
Why is that?
Because of infection.
Yeah.
Your immune system's down. You're going to get an infection,
Sure.
especially in an airplane. But besides that, I knew that was the outcome of making that decision, but never missed a day of work. How can you do that? Never missed an administration. How can that be when so many patients have these interruptions? So he was feeding me protein shakes. He was feeding me nutrients. And then on top of it, here you're a cancer patient, right? And nutrition plays such an important aspect. But what kind of nutrition?
Right.
You need items that are going to feed your body. So for example, black beans is very important. I also made sure I had fruits and vegetables and grains when I could eat. But I kept my body alkaline.
What were you telling me about celery?
Oh, celery is excellent. Excellent for the body and what it can fight. Not only that, but I also took some additional, with my doctor's permission, some additional supplements that would help me during this course. And then I also did something else during my Abraxane treatment. I ate a lot of alkaline foods. And alkaline foods help alkaline your body, because today 90% of all Americans eat acidic food because we're eating all the preserved food, we're eating all the food that's ready to go out the door, where 40, 50 years ago our parents used to eat 90% alkaline food.
That's right.
And so our body's full of a lot of acid. Well, cancer thrives on acid. That's a known fact. So I started eating like cantaloupe and watermelons, and I stayed away from certain types of berries that had acid, and I ate berries that didn't have acid. And so I started alkalining my body, feeding it cruciferous vegetables. Those are very high antioxidant vegetables, like cabbage, broccoli, arugula for my salads. Everything that would fortify my body and help me get through this. But a lot of patients don't know this.
Sure.
Right? Your body needs fuel because the chemotherapy is eating up.
Taking it away.
It's taking it away. And the last thing you want to do is eat.
Sure.
Because of how it treats you and what it does to your body.
Karen, what did your last test show, your last PET scan?
Oh, my last PET scan? It was quite exciting. They were hoping to control the cancer with a chemotherapy. So when I had my first test after my chemotherapy, the doctor wanted to make sure that what she was reading was correct and there was no sign of cancer, either in the local recurrence or in the lungs. And she calls it remission. Then 6 months later, I went in for my second PET scan. There's nothing. I'm clean. And what it said, it was interesting. No cancer evident in the brain, no cancer evident in the breast, no cancer evident in the bone, no cancer evident in the organs. Cancer-free. She says I'm still in a state of remission. And I looked at her and I said, I know you believe that. And I said, and I'm so glad. And I said, but a lot of it has to do with my faith, because I'm like the American Cancer Society.
4 pillars.
Those 4 pillars are critical for patients, which is hope, faith, courage, and strength. And I can't tell you, when a woman hears the word, or even a man hears the word cancer, shock.
Yeah.
Gloom and doom. You think
The wind's been
done.
knocked out of you.
Fear. Then you move to anxiety. Then you feel absolutely overwhelmed by all the data that's been given to you and you cannot assimilate it. That's why I say you have to step back and think about what is going on. And then you have to advocate for yourself. You have to be your own advocate. And you know, I think people need to think about something very important. Because of the statistics, 1 out of every 2 men will get cancer in their lifetime. And 1 out of every 3 women will experience it in their lifetime.
Wow.
And 1 out of every 7 women, 7 to 8 women, will experience breast cancer. The question that you have to sit back and ask yourself, which is what I did, I'm a person of faith. It's not about the fact that you've been given cancer and that you're facing it. It was never about the why. We all face detours in our life. It's about God, what do you want me to do with this now? How can I help and serve somebody else? How can I give them something to help them through their detour of life? Because my detour is not a detour. It is a doorway. It's leading me someplace else that can help others. And I will tell you this, we are all going to die. The question is when and how you're going to die.
Sure.
Is that not correct?
Correct.
So the question is not about how you're going to die. The question is how are you going to live?
To live.
Amen.
That's what it's about. And when they hear that word cancer, and especially some stage 3s and 4s, I'm going to die, a fear comes over you. And I kept standing on one promise. He will have no fear of bad news. His heart is steadfast, trusting in the Lord. And it was bad news after bad news. And I did not allow fear to grip me. They're treating cancer now like a chronic illness. And the issue is, yes, you've had it once, but you have to ask yourself, will it return? And if it does return, what method, what pattern, and how fast? That's the question.
If folks want to get a hold of you, you encourage that.
Yes.
You encourage anyone going through the first shock of hearing the word cancer, those in the second or the third, the fourth stage of cancer, to reach out to you.
Absolutely.
How can they do that?
Well, I have a Facebook page that I just completed, and it's called Cancer Approach. And I'm going to, by October, I will be launching my website. So in the interim, I'm giving them an opportunity to come to my Facebook page called Cancer Approach.
A Cancer Approach, okay.
And they can reach me there. I also am going to be handing out, I have a business card that says, really at the top, I love it, this is just me, diagnosis, you've been diagnosed with cancer, what now? And I literally give out my phone number. I'm not afraid to give out my phone number, because why? I'm having people from everywhere calling me.
Sure.
But if they come to my Facebook page, I have an email that they can hyperlink to me, and I will be happy to answer any question that they would have. Because the more educated you are, with the more information, the better decision you will make about your clinical pathway, not the doctor's clinical pathway for you. And elevated insulin growth factors, they've been able to show, can have a correlation to the impact to cancer. And once again, that moves into the obesity and what they've been able to correlate. It doesn't end there. I remember being fascinated with a company. And then I found out that this particular company owns 85% of all the seed houses in the world now. And this particular company, a good intent, to stop all the spraying of the pesticides, decided to put within the seed the pesticide itself. And that's what we're putting in our body today, plus the way we're eating. I mean, I found out a tremendous article on the National Institute of Health, which kind of aligned with my alkaline, my own thoughts about alkalinity, and it showed that sodium bicarbonate on the National Institute of Health shows the pH impact to metastases cancer. So I started taking 2 levels of baking soda that doesn't have aluminum in it every single day, along with alkalining my food. And I've got clinicals to substantiate it. When it's on the National Institute of Health and it's documented. And then a third thing that I've done is I've researched. And I found this fermented wheat germ in Hungary. And I found out that it had all this clinical data in the assay tests, and it's called Avmar, and it has benzoquinine in it. And when I did research on the National Institute of Health, I found out a correlation of benzoquinine to the stopping and the killing of cancer cells. So this is what I did it because I heard fermented wheat germ helps you during cancer because your aches and pains and what you go through the body.
So just search.
You have to search.
Search.
I spent 1,000 hours. So when my website comes up, my heart's desire is where they can come to cancerapproach.com when it's launched in October. Why? Because it's breast cancer month. Any cancer patient can come on and I'll have different modules, and there'll be the hyperlinks to where they need to go. So that way, instead of having to go to the American Cancer Society or the National Cancer Institute or the National Institute of Health, or like I did a lot of research on the World Health Organization. And I also did a lot of research on the CDC, because the CDC has a lot of information.
Are physicians and those people who have been with you on your journey when you share this story, are you seeing the lights go on where they're saying, well, okay, perhaps that needs to be implemented into care? Or do a lot of people want to chalk it up to, it's a medical miracle?
Well, because of my faith, my doctor said to me, she says, I know it's remission, but from your perspective, I know you say God's healed you. I believe he has.
Sure.
I really believe he has.
I believe he also gave you not only the drive, the motivation, he gave you the intelligence. Go find it. You know, if there was something in there that says go find it, there are ways.
There are ways.
And then he's telling you to go share it.
Now
Absolutely.
you have to go share it.
I mean, the 4 pillars of hope. You know, my hope is in the Lord. Faith. You know, faith is what? It's about trusting. And so when I look at my life and who I am, let alone the inspiration that I can give individuals, he's given me a brain. And he says, I'm giving you this brain so that you can go and do your research and then share this with others who don't have the time or the ability in order to do this research, and help them and inspire them. It's not over until it's over. That is it. And I am not a cancer survivor. I know that the American Cancer Society, and we're all saying we're cancer survivors. No, I am not a cancer survivor. Survivor means you're surviving something. I'm a cancer overcomer.
Yay.
Why? Because it is not going to impact me whether I live or whether I die. My eyes are on the things unseen. My life, I have a different path. And I can't wait to help other people.
Get ready, because I think you're going to be inundated.
You know, God has chosen you to do this work.
I really believe it. I really believe it. And my heart hurts every time you hear the word cancer for other people. I think I realized how good God is, that he would allow me and honor me to walk this path.
I think I would be one to sit down, I've got it, I'm done. You know, there are people like that. I feel I am one of those. And I am so thankful there are folks like you that
Blazing the trail.
Yes, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I like what my son said. It was after I'd completed my therapy and I got my clean bill of health. And I had energy back. You know, you get it back, you know. You still keep doing your job, but you get more and more energy as time goes on. And we were playing, I said, honey, let's make a tent and let's go on a camping trip. So we took sheets and we put them all over the chairs, and we were going lions and tigers and bears, oh my. And we had flashlights and we were playing inside the little tent inside our front room, and we were giggling and laughing. And I'll never forget what my son said. He says, Mommy. I said, yes, honey. And he took his hands and he put them on my face. And he says, you're back. You're back, Mommy. I would like to say to every person that's facing cancer, I am asking them to step back and understand their diagnosis.
Yes.
The second thing is, understand the staging and the grading of the cancer. Do not think because you move into remission that it's over.
Be on top.
You have to
Keep
be
your
on
nutrition.
top of it. You have to change your lifestyle, and you have to understand the nutrition facets and how it can significantly impact your life. And then I think you have to share it with others. I mean, if someone had told me, if I had to take an injection called Neulasta and say, just take Claritin, and I wouldn't have to suffer the pain of Neulasta, because you have to, it's the white cells you have to produce. It's part of the chemotherapy regimen. The first time I went without it, because I wanted to see what it felt like, it was the most horrible thing a cancer patient can go through. The next time I had my Neulasta shot, I took Claritin. 90%. I did not have to go through any of the side effects. Little tidbits that make it easier to go through.
This is life-changing stuff.
And that's what it's all about.
Sharing and caring.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Karen.
you.
Thank you.